So today's question, what is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic training? So for those who don't know, there's different energy systems when you train, and two of them are anaerobic and aerobic. And the anaerobic training system is basically about 10 seconds long. So roughly, if you think of someone sprinting flat out for 10 seconds, that's your anaerobic system. And the anaerobic system means no oxygen. That's why you're extremely breathless after your 10-second sprint. And that means no oxygen. So when you're doing it, you're not breathing. You're basically holding your breath when you're doing it. And then at the end, you're out of oxygen, so you start heaving for air, and that's anaerobic training. Very crudely, very basically, that's what that is. Aerobic training, and we're going to go the other extreme, is sustainable. So you can repeat it. Keep going, going, going. So we're going to say marathon runner. Keep going at the same pace, going, going, going. You can breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth throughout it. You're producing energy throughout it, nice and easy, and you can sustain it for a long period of time. Now, there's loads of wiggle room in the middle, but we're going to talk about polar extremes. And where people confuse the term "I'm not fit" is, I suppose, a misconception in regards to these things. If you're doing anaerobic training, you should never, regardless of your fitness level, not be breathless at the end of it. That's the whole point. You're to be breathless. It's anaerobic. There's no oxygen. So if you have someone of any fitness level do anaerobic training, whether they're an elite athlete or a beginner, they're going to be breathless. That's the point. It's just the difference will be in performance, just like if you were lifting weights, where a beginner might do, let's say, a 10 kilo deadlift and an elite athlete might do 200 kilo deadlift. That's the difference. It's just, to the eyes, the performance is different, but to the literal body, it's the same effort and intensity. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused in regards to their fitness levels. They think that because they're tired or breathless, they're not fit. And then aerobic training, for example, is that it's sustainable. So a lot of people, when they go to do aerobic training, they might actually train harder than they should. And that's where things like, these fitness trackers with heart rate monitors built into them can show you that are you in the right training zone via your heart rate to actually get the right training effect. And this is very important when you're doing things like field sports and you're doing different kind of training modalities, where regards to are you in the right training zone, more or less, basically using crude terms again to explain the training effect you're trying to get. So the main difference again with anaerobic training is that it's high intensity, massive effort, so it's really brief, and long steady state cardio is aerobic training, where you can keep going. And then of course, if you combine those training modalities together, you get things like field sports, where it's start, stop, that kind of stuff. But that's basically the difference between those two trainings. One is brief and intense, anaerobic, and one is long and steady state, aerobic. And that's the main difference. So don't ever think you're unfit if you're doing anaerobic training and you can't breathe, like you're pushing a sled, or you're doing a sprint, or you're going flat out on an assault bike. That's what's meant to happen. You're meant to be tired. Your coach will tell you that. You're anaerobic training, you're meant to be tired, you're meant to be breathing for air, you're meant to take big breaks. Then for aerobic training, you're meant to be able to go at a pace that you can sustain generally, and that's the point of that. Now, everyone's pace in that aerobic could be different. If you're doing, let's say, some person might be running a 6-minute kilometer, another person running a 7, another person running an 8. But the point is you can sustain that pace, and that's aerobic training. It doesn't mean you're unfit. It just means that's your level. All right, guys, I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, you can ask in the comments below. And as always, we'll talk to you later. Cheers.